I'm Ryan, this is my brother Daniel, and this is Rolls in the Family, and today we are looking back at the month of January and figuring out what were the best plays, the very best of January. January started out at the tail end of the holiday family coming together here at Rolls in the Family. That we, do annually. So we did get games played together that are eligible here.
Yeah.
I don't know how much gaming happened in particular for Daniel, in the rest of the month. But
This is about a 4-day analysis.
But
right?
I helped him get at least 3 games so that he could make this video with me.
Yeah.
We will have links to all the games we talk about below. Maybe it could be one of the games we talk about is going to be your favorite game of all time.
I mean, I will say, I think all of my picks are pretty hot games.
Pretty hot.
Spicy.
Man, stick around.
I know, you can't leave after hearing that.
Yeah. Really grab them in the intro.
I just hooked them. That's what they tell.
Yes.
That's what they say to do on YouTube. So there you go.
Yes. YouTube strategy 101.
Yep. Say the word hot.
Also,
within the first
engage
minute.
your audience in the comments where they will be leaving your top play of January. What was the best thing you played in the last month? Would love to hear it. Would love to hear why. What made it such a good play?
That's the second tip of YouTube: community engagement.
Yes.
We're on our game right now.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. All right. Let's just get into things here. Daniel, what was your number 3
Yes.
top game?
So like Ryan mentioned, we got some gaming together. Got some gaming out actually in the same kind of studio that Ryan is sitting in right now.
It's true. I'm sitting in what we call the workshop, where we have kind of like filming space and stuff, but my wife, for her art stuff, also has her kind of active studio space, which in a pinch can double as a game room.
Well, I will say, Ryan, it's a little side comment. It's a great game room. It's got a lot of natural light, which
does have a lot of
very
natural
nice.
light.
I mean, it's literally like windows all the way around. So I think some of the pictures might have that. But
if you notice, our picture quality is a little nicer than normal.
yes,
that's
that's right.
natural lighting.
That's right. But anyways, this game was played in that studio. It was not the first time I played it, but it was the first time I played it, if you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean.
And this is one that maybe on the surface wouldn't be a game that I enjoy a lot, but man, is it interesting. Like, it really is one of just the, like, as you're playing, most interesting games in terms of strategy and what the heck do I do and how do I make what I want to happen. So much tension. This goes to Arcs. We played a 4-player game of Arcs, I believe.
Yep.
And oh my goodness, Ryan, that is truly might be the most tense board game I've ever played.
Yeah, it really does have a lot because everything with the ambitions is, if I score it, that means you didn't. Like it's all that type of scoring.
Yeah. So every round, the scoring gets selected, and then suddenly all of your focus is on that. And how you're making these things happen is through this, very simple, kind of playing these trick taking. Is that what you call it?
No. Yeah, it would be
trick taking, right?
Essentially, yeah.
For some reason, I had a brain fart there, but oh my goodness, that whole thing of like, okay, well, if I play in suit and beat it, I can, take the full number of pips actions. But then if I can't, then you only get to take one action, either of
copying the lead suit
or pivoting.
Yep.
And that's like brutal to like go all the way down to one action.
Yeah, if you go a whole round and all you're doing is like playing a single action, you're not getting a whole lot done.
So you need times where you have initiative, because then you can maybe like lead a 1 and you get a bunch of actions. Like, that's huge. But also what you're playing the number matches, if you're wanting to claim one of those, declare an ambition, it has to match. So you're like thinking about that. I have not played a game where you're just sitting there and you're like, what do I do? And
it's all of that hard what do I do, while also knowing what are all the ways somebody could come and ruin me?
Yeah.
Because like it is so like,
Yeah.
where am I exposed? Like, okay, I think I'm winning in this ambition, like, but everybody knows everything is
Oh my
open. Everybody
gosh.
knows I'm winning this. I know that the other players around the table are going, how can I steal fuel from Ryan?
Yeah.
And so you have to like think from their perspective. Okay, where could they do that? And am I at risk?
Yeah. I think about some people like board games where it's, multiplayer solitaire. What's the furthest opposite of that? Cause man, or like, I remember towards the end of our game, there's like a moment where, we realize, one of the players can get to is it 20 victory points to win? Is that the...
It's different with the number of players. It's probably 27 or
something like that. But we realized he could win. Suddenly everyone is like just going after you. And I remember the guy next to me realized that he had because he had a really awesome like powers where he is with his, are they, I think starports what are the ones that you can go in and you could as an opponent like raid
the cities.
Yeah. But he had built one city that like wasn't protected, and suddenly he realized like that was the one place of
because he had some ability that it was like if he had a starport that was not damaged, you couldn't collect raid dice in that area.
Yeah,
and so he was making sure that all his cities also had starports because then we like couldn't raid him. But at some point, he built a city in a sector that only had one, or that he couldn't get the starport. And in hindsight, he was like, I should have never built that.
We were just gunning
but it's
for
hard
that one.
to do, because if you keep raiding it, you accidentally destroy it because the raid dice attack the buildings.
That game, I still don't know, first part of me like can't imagine owning it because it's, gosh, you need the right group. Like, I think we've said this before. It
sure helps that our sister likes it.
Yeah,
and likes it quite a bit,
it actually doesn't surprise me. No, once I heard her top games, it doesn't surprise me.
But in terms of me being able to get to the table, that's going to help significantly.
Yeah, and I really enjoy it, but even I have to like prepare myself because, I mean, you can have moments where you get absolutely wiped. I mean,
I definitely had one of those where I was able to double down the ambition because you can declare an ambition more than once. I was able to double down on the whatever the one is for having the most like material and fuel. And I was like way ahead at that point. And it was like, I really think I can do this, but I also know the second it's doubled down.
Oh my gosh.
And doing this. And so
especially with limited resources. So, if you have a bunch of it, it's not like other players can just go to the supply. It's like, oh no, we got to go after Ryan.
Yeah, well, and it's more efficient to get one by taking one. And so, it just worked out that like, the right opportunities were there for players to come and just really hammer me, and I came out of it, I think, not scoring that ambition that I was set up to like. I had to play for it though because I was very far behind, so I had to make a big move, which is I like that it's possible in the game, and I was so close. Our sister on one of the raids got an amazing roll. She got way more keys than she should have. Probabilistically, and it was like, oh man, there goes my stuff. But
yeah, so you just have to be ready for like what you got to know what kind of game you're going into. But like we've said before, I think for the right group, man, this game is pretty incredible.
You got to like the excitement of dice too, because like some of those you could have a die roll determine like a 18-point swing of like a 9-point ambition because you did or didn't get the good enough roll to swing that ambition.
Which for some people, like I'm pretty close to into this game, is hard when it's a game that is so tense and you're like, oh, and I go and I
this
make
is
this
again
big move.
The people can flip some tables playing Arcs, I think.
Top 10 games that lead to flip tables.
Yeah,
I'd watch that. Okay, well there you go, Ryan. That's my number 3.
Number 3. Yeah, I was glad we got to get a real game of it while you were here.
The physical version, just there's something about it.
Yeah, it's a 2-player tabletop simulator, not
at
representative.
10:30 p.m. at night,
and
Ryan's wrecking me.
It's a learning game, Daniel's just trying to remember the rules while Ryan comes in and steals
Raids
more of
all
his
my
stuff. Well, in a 2-player game, it's even more than with more
I'm not
players.
Sure I'm not sure I'm a
Everything is-
2-player fan.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
My number 3 is a new addition to the collection. I got it for Christmas, I think. It's always hard to remember between my birthday and Christmas because they're pretty close together. But it's one that I've now gotten the opportunity to try a couple times. I did play it with you. Either the play that I had with you, or then I did get to play a 3-player game, which it is a game that I think is better with more players. This is Clank Catacombs. And I, for a long time, have been aware of Clank and always thought it looked like a fun game, but it never had enough to get me to want to like go buy it for whatever reason. And I think in hindsight, a big reason, whether it was well justified or not, is I would look at that board and go, that board's the same every single time. And this is long before Clank Catacombs ever was a thing.
Yeah.
But I think that honestly was part of what was holding me back, is like, is this a game I'm going to want to play 50 times?
Well, and just to jump in real quick, I owned Clank in Space, played it a few times, and that was one of my biggest things I didn't love about it.
Yeah, so you kind of confirmed my concern.
Yeah. I was like, man, the board is the same every time, and I didn't love that.
And so when Clank Catacombs was announced, and then I saw really positive reviews, a lot of people saying it was their favorite version, I was like, oh man, this feels like it solved my main hesitation. And having played it now, it did. Now, I haven't played the original, but it's hard to imagine, having only played Clank Catacombs, not having the board be dynamic, because it feels like such a big part of the game, like the feeling of exploration. And I realize there's probably an element of strategy that's lost. You can't map out as much what you're going to do because you don't know what's coming. But I think for me in this style of game, it's already pretty lighthearted with the whole like drawing from the dragon bag and somebody can go out and then they're trying to get everybody to and so like the exploration just feels like a really good fit for it. And it's just so fun to move on one of those little lines and get a new piece and be like, how am I going to put this? And oh, that like connects back to this other thing in a way that I wasn't expecting. And
yeah, that's an incredibly satisfying experience. The whole getting a tile and placing it, that you don't have that in the other, like, and
it rewards exploration because since you get to decide, you can like often get a good reward in it or first access to something. I think especially playing a 3-player game of it, I start to see kind of more of how the dynamic of pacing can kind of shine in this game. I mean, we saw this in our game where I got out first and you were racing to get back.
So close.
You were so close. But even more with more players. So our sister was in this game and she got out pretty quickly. And so she was kind of playing for the, both of you are pretty far away.
Yeah.
I don't have a ton of points, but
pressure.
and so I was able to, I knew I had more points than her. So it was really just like, can I get back? And I was able to just get back with like a couple damage left on my thing. But then it was fun to watch the other guy who's way out there and he had the opposite problem of he knows he's not winning. So if you know you're not winning, you have to
keep
like,
going.
I gotta go get some points and go do this. And then, it's just, even though I was done, I mean, you still get to draw from the bag on your turn. It's such a fun dynamic there at the end of the game, as there's this one player that's trying to get back and everybody else in their turn is like trying to kill them by drawing the things out. And he just didn't make it back to where he would have scored. Because if you get close enough but not out, you at least get to score. You just don't get the bonus for getting out. And all of that in a game that, plays in an hour or less. Like I imagine, especially once people know how to play it, because like both of them were playing for the first time. Really snappy, so prime for expansions. I mean, I know there's one expansion out that feels like a must get to me, but it's like, man, just give me more tiles, give me more cards, and like the variability is just going to go up and up and up. So really positive first impression of this one, and I really like that it kind of fits in this. I always don't know what to call it. It's kind of like the Gateway Plus or like the medium way. Like it's just a step up. It can be hard to find games in that I feel compelled to play over and over and over again. And I feel like this could be one. Time will tell, but good first impression.
I had a great first impression as well, Ryan.
Yeah.
Which is why this is my number 2.
Maybe even a slightly better first impression.
Yeah, I did Well, I tell you what, actually, my first impression was so good that I immediately went onto my, Board Game Geek account and put, I think I might have said must own, which obviously that means must own.
Yeah.
But
like immediately go and
immediately, and I show it to my
wife. That's what I do. I mark as must own, and then I open another tab and I
purchase,
buy it.
and
it's
then
just like the natural.
Owned. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And, well, if I must own it,
that's true. You can't wait. Ryan, like I said, I had played Clank in Space, and it was good. Like if someone was like, "Hey, want to play Clank in Space?" I could do it and enjoy myself. This blew me away. Like. This was so much fun. And we were only playing a 2-player game of it. Like I would imagine you had a third player and it just, increases that even more. You are right. The exploration is honestly, it's up there for like most fun exploration. I'm
trying to think of what other games we have that like give that sense of the board unfolding.
Well, I think like Escape. I mean, that's like a cooperative one, but has the similar like get a tile. Yeah. Although even that one, you're not choosing the orientation, right? Because
it's more like you're finding out what's there.
But the tiles are so interesting, and like it's like, and it really is interesting decisions on like, oh, I could make it so that I come in and get this. Oh, but then there's this on this side, or how does this?
And some of the paths require extra movement, or like have monsters that if you don't use swords, you're going to take damage. There's just like a lot of considerations to which paths you want to go
They made the exploration mechanic so much fun. I mean, and like I mentioned earlier, like that's just. That's something that is just because of the nature of it, not there in previous versions, which is why I look at this and I'm like, I cannot imagine playing another version other than this because I love that. I love the just give me a tile and I get to find out what it is. And it feels like there's almost never like that tile's, useless or like, every tile's interesting. Like maybe some can work out better than others, but like every tile is like, oh, okay, how's that gonna work? So I think that is such an essential addition because if I'm being honest, like it's a deck builder. It's a fine
very
deck
vanilla,
builder. It's vanilla. Yeah. It's not doing anything really that crazy with deck building. So it feels like. And that was, again, kind of my first impressions when playing Clank in Space was like, okay, the deck building's just good, fine. And I didn't feel like the rest of it gave me enough to blow me away for me to look at it all and be like, yeah, for this, that whole just exploration coming out change is what does it for me. And so it takes a good deck builder but puts it into this exploring system. Like you mentioned, pacing is such a huge part in this game, and I think that's you'll get that in any Clank game, right? That's what's fun about Clank is this tension of where am I at in the rankings? How do I need to keep going? When do I need to turn back? And all of that. And so it's it was already a really good game, but I'm sure there's people who, again, like you mentioned, enjoy planning things out, seeing maybe the whole map to start. We love randomness and variability and
in this type of game, I think it gives me what I want.
It's like, it's a lighter game, but one that I think really benefits from that. So yeah.
When I love like there's like things that come in, I forget what the name of the card is, but when it like arrives in the card row, it like rotates the pieces that people are standing on.
Yeah.
And just something like that is so funny because it like reconnects things in different ways, and it's just like so in the flavor of the game. I feel like
I totally forgot about that. That was that's really cool. So that's my number 2, Ryan.
Nice. My number 2, I played with you and a friend of ours. And this is another game in that category of games that Daniel kind of played once. You did, but it was not a very representative play with the two of us. But we got to play now with 3, with the one friend of mine being very familiar with this game, which is very helpful because this game has a lot of rules to remember. It helps to have another person that like is pretty aware of them. This is Too Many Bones. And I think 3-player is the best player count for this.
I would agree.
2
with
is
that.
very fun, but having 3 gearlocks, like the dynamic of your party and the ability for just the battles to be more interesting, you get a little bit more into actually having some of those 20-point baddies because you're, have higher battle queue points or whatever they call it. But it was very fun to just get to experience this with kind of like an ideal group for it. Such a unique game. I mean, every gearlock is just completely different. I mean, you have a double-sided thing of like how to play your gearlock. It's definitely a game that like rewards being more of a lifestyle game where you're playing it somewhat frequently.
Yeah.
So that you don't have to relearn these characters every time you play it, which is definitely something you would have going against you playing this game again, as there's probably going to be big gaps between playing it.
Yeah.
But they are very fun in their own ways, in the ways you build them out. And I mean, I think if I had one like maybe complaint with the game or something that keeps me maybe from it being even higher for me is the fact that like the playing a character is pretty like sandboxy in you kind of just like pick which skills you want to kind of build out or whatever, but it's kind of just like whatever you're feeling. Like there's not a lot in the game that's pushing me because of the variables in the game this time.
Yeah.
I think I should build myself out in this specific way.
Maybe dynamic of your team
I was going to say,
composition.
that's the main one, is like dynamic your team. Like, I know these are our weaknesses, so I need to fill that in, which is one more argument why 3 players probably the best is because there's more nuance in what your team is good at. But it is just so fun to build out your character. And honestly, like I was playing... I forget now because I think I played solo since.
You were weren't you the,
I was the bomber, right?
Yeah.
So the Boomer who's rolling these dice to try to like get the pieces so that she can build bombs, and then a lot of her dice use bombs to like do these bomb effects, and she's arranged. But like it was one of those things like I ended up just like picking some dice that the last time I had played her I hadn't use those, and it's like these might be fun to it's just fun to try different things, but it is just the actual tactical on the map gameplay is just very fun and interesting with it, all the different there's so many enemy abilities of different things that they do. Oh, this one flies and every other round it's here and now. Oh, and this one's sitting over there and it's just poisoning all of us from a distance. But that, there's just so many different things, or this person has lashback that when you attack them, you get hit back. And, so it's just enough that like, that's where a lot of the variability is coming in, is not only are there so many different like types of encounters and things with different conditions, but when you build that battle queue and put it out on the map, it just like creates this unique puzzle that is going to be different depending on the gearlocks you have, and then you get to play it out. And it just really I think hits in a different way from some other games I have in that category. Mage Knight is often the one that comes to mind, which is very card driven. Too Many Bones has kind of the fun of being dice driven and having a lot of dice with it. It is a hard game to know how long it's going to take, partly because you can pick the Tyrant, which tells you like how many days. We were playing a little bit longer one. I think our game was around 4 hours. But even within a Tyrant, like if you fail a battle, it's basically like a day has passed and you're at the same place you were before you failed that battle. So like the number of battles you fail, and those battles can be 20 to 30 minutes. I mean, it really can be.
Yeah.
So and actually this happened with my solo play where like I lost the whole thing, but I was fighting the boss in the second to last round and I lost. So I had a day left that I could try again. And I was like, I almost am no chance of being able to beat him the second time. But it added like a half hour onto my game because I'm trying to beat it if I can.
Right.
So that's a little bit, you don't know exactly where the time's going to end up. But yeah, I'm curious kind of just what your thoughts were on it the second time around. But
well, our second time was much better than the first time, I'll say that. This didn't make my top plays of the month. I think probably would have come in at number 4. But it's a very fun game. Gosh, I mean, I love cooperative games. This one is again has in that Mage Knight feel of like heaviness, and I love the characters are so fun, and customizing them and all of that. So yeah, it's another thing I really like about this game, just mechanically, I love the whole, I don't know if it's a number or whatever, but to determine what baddies come out, how it's like, you know, if you have 19, you're gonna do I don't know if it's 10 5 5 5 5 5.
It would be 3 5s and
3 5s and 4
ones.
1s versus 21. You have a 20 and a 1.
Yeah.
So just, I don't know, that when I first saw that, I'm like, that is such a creative way to have
and
very
it's so interesting to have a
dynamic
battle
battles.
that it's like, okay, we're fighting a lot of smaller things, but there's like a lot of it, like only 4 hour out at a time, but they're going to keep coming. And then you have another one that is just like 1 or 2 things. And it's like, oh man, these are really hard, but this is it.
Right. Yeah. It's so this game, honestly, it's one that, like you mentioned, I would benefit if I could play it more often. Because I think, you know, a few of the things I noticed, one, there's just a lot of symbols and stuff like that. And so there was a lot of moments where, you know, you and the other guy were playing with like knew who did what and what was happening. And I'm a little bit like, okay, you know, I felt like I was just following along a little bit. You know, it's interesting with the characters. I do agree with you. I wish that there was a little bit more that like would tell a reason to go one direction or another, versus just arbitrarily deciding. I also, it's funny, I don't love, and I know why they did this, because the characters are complex and it can be hard to play, but they give you kind of a recommended, like, okay, go for this first. And I actually don't like that, because I feel like I'm not being smart if I don't do that. But then
if you just do that, then it's like, well,
and
I'm not
if I
even
do
making
that,
decisions.
then I'm just following what they said, and I'm not actually making. So again, I get why they did it, because they're trying to, you know, it's hard, and you can probably make some bad decisions that would be really, you know, have bad consequences. But it was just interesting seeing that. I was like, like I don't know how I want to follow it, but I also don't want to follow it. You know what I'm saying? So, but I don't know. It's a sweet game, and one that, gosh, I mean, there's a reason there's so much content out for it, because you could just, I mean, endlessly expand that one. But super glad that I got to play that one again.
Yeah, and it is interesting because Chip Theory has now released the Elder Scrolls game, which is based off the video games that's based on the Too Many Bones system. So it's kind of like a Too Many Bones 2.0 in this. And some of the things they do, like, I think address some of this. It is a little bit more of like a build out your character more generically, instead of it being like a gear walk that has these set paths for that character. And it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. But the big thing is it leans more to campaign play. And like, that is not what I'm looking for.
Right.
I need it to be one-offs. Like, I just don't.
I like campaigns. Maybe I'll look into that.
Yeah, maybe you'll look into that.
What'd you say it's called? Elder Scrolls?
Yeah, you would. I mean, that would be.
Okay.
It'd be a good one.
I just finished a campaign
if you feel like
with a group.
Up the butt for some.
I like
Chip.
You know, Ryan,
that
is one of my favorite things
games.
to do.
It's. I mean, it feels really nice moving those chips around.
Still?
Yeah, it's all the same.
Okay, so it's a similar.
The name of the company is Chip Theory Games.
Oh, so it's their
they
thing.
literally like work these premium
they
chips into like every
themselves
design.
into that one design.
Hey, they've definitely established their brand. Well, and like all the cards are like waterproof. Like literally everything in the game is waterproof.
You know, Ryan, sometimes you just want to play Too Many Bones in the bottom of a pool, you know?
You know, sometimes you do. There's videos of people doing that, actually.
There you go. Not us. Okay, Ryan, so we're coming to my number one. Number one of the month, Ryan. You know, we had a great time in Colorado. A lot of bonding, a lot of fellowship, a lot of growth, you know? But
okay.
And yet, despite all that, Ryan, my number one play is not with you. So, I got a gaming session in. You know, it's been actually challenging with just, you know, young kids and stuff to actually like organize game days with other people, especially with other people that also have kids. But it's been one of my kind of New Year's resolutions is making this happen more. So got a game day together and got to play one that I have just been wanting to play for a while now. Really want to play a tournament version of it at some point. But my number one is going to go to Heat Pedal to the Metal. So We actually, you know what, now that I think about it, we had okay, so it was 4 of us were playing in this game. The 5th guy hadn't arrived yet. So it was 4 of us, and then we played with the 2 legends, computer cars, which again, so
Works
well
so well.
designed. Like
Yeah.
it is so easy, works so well. They're fairly competitive. So yeah, that's fantastic. But it was new for I think pretty much everyone there hadn't played before. And we did they're pretty, they're all capable, they're strong gamers. So we did we did drafting,
Garage module,
drafting, and it is just such a fun game. This really is one of those games that, like, from the very start to the very finish, I am just having so much fun. Like there's really no point where I'm, unless maybe if you fall way behind somehow. But what this game does so well is simulate a tense race feel, and that can be hard to do in a board game. But you're constantly in this tension of trying to, hit the curves well and pushing yourself to do that. And oftentimes, to hit a curve right, you have to take heat to make it happen. But then managing the heat in your car, that just whole tension makes the race just incredibly fun, and figuring out where, because if you never take risks and never push yourself, you're not going to win.
Yeah.
If you take too many, it can backfire and you spin out, right? And that happened to me, and that's ended up why I didn't.
Or even if you don't spin out, if you're in a situation where you just don't have heat,
yeah, you
like
can't
to spend.
you can't make.
Man, it's hard. You feel like you're walking on eggshells doing everything because you can't.
So in
anything.
this, we were playing just the USA map, 2-lap race. It's that, how do I hit that sweet spot? Where are the moments where I do need to spend the heat to make the move?
Mm-hmm.
I have a tendency of doing that way too early. It's the first curve. Spend 4 heat. We need it.
Yeah.
So, I need to get better at that. But yeah, it's man, that just finding that sweet spot, and then the racing and the slipstreaming is really interesting as well. Of like, obviously it's a little bit of a catch-up mechanism, right? Because first place never gets to slipstream. So it's, and they even have the catch-up mechanism for people in 5th and 6th, which I really like that. But figuring out where to position yourself, I think about when I'm in first, sometimes I will actually take a heat to go in extra space so that the person behind me who thinks I'm going to be sitting, one space earlier can't slipstream, but then maybe that backfires. So there's a lot of mind games also with people of like, where do you think people are going to go and how can you slipstream off of that? This one is just so great. It's one that I'm like, this is never leaving the collection. It's just an absolute hit. And I really want to try a tournament of it. I think that'd be so fun to do the 3 race thing, and upgrades in between, stuff like that. Been playing it even more on BGA recently with actually that same group. They wanted to keep playing after that. So that's been a ton of fun. It was a riveting race. Came down to the end. It was just an absolute blast, Ryan. So
nice.
Number 1, not with Ryan. He pulled
not with me. Yeah, I still have the Heavy Rain expansion that I need to.
Oh, I didn't
try.
Yeah, I didn't know you got that. Very nice.
Yeah, I got it for my birthday, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it adds 2 new tracks with a little bit of new. At least one of them has the new mechanism with like the water. I forget exactly how it works.
And a 7th player.
Can do 7 players, or just play orange if you really, really want to play orange.
That's why I'm gonna buy it.
I guess technically, as long as a human player is playing orange, you could use the Legends module to push it up to 7 cars on the track.
Oh, yeah.
Using the AI. But yes, it's one that has been one of the bigger hits, I feel like, for us in the last, as far as like collection hits.
Yeah.
Just like, man, this is a great addition to the
so
collection.
Good. It's
for like
so
the situations it
good.
fits. And yeah. Nice. My number 1 has been mentioned, and it was hard to rank this one but I still put it at number 1, despite me not doing
I was
that
gonna say,
well.
I thought for sure your performance would drop
Despite
it.
me not doing that well in this game of Arcs.
Wow.
And I think, it is just this game continues to fascinate me with the way it plays out and the things each session that I see that, like, you're kind of uncovering new things in the game and just seeing the possibilities of things that can happen. This is my first time playing 4-player, which is wild.
Oh, I didn't know that was your first time. Yeah.
Like 3-player, I feel like 3-player might be the best. 4-player is pretty crazy. You're competing. There's no more points available than a 3-player game, but you got more people fighting for it.
Either.
And no more resources.
I cannot believe that it doesn't scale somehow.
So it really makes it even more tense and like
I was sweating the whole game.
Yes. Dang it, his whole shirt was just his gross. Yeah, and I was not doing well in this game. I was way behind. But I will say, playing from that position of way behind, I did find it interesting. Like, I needed to play for some big plays, and I almost pulled it off. We talked about earlier, like, I managed to get a double ambition declaration in the thing I was clearly the best at. And so it was like, that's the best case scenario. If I can do this, it was like going to be an 18-point play or something. And I would have brought me right back up with the pack going into that last round. Now, we already talked about how that didn't end up working out quite as I hoped. It just barely got stolen away from me.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved that, like, it was possible. Like, I had a path despite being so far behind that I could get back in winning contention.
Well, and it feels like that flows out of, because the game is so interactive and so
nobody
tense.
was targeting me.
Nobody's targeting you, right?
Yeah.
And so the game has a self-balancing nature to it.
To a certain degree, it does.
Of you're gonna go
not
after the
easy.
leader.
Like, for example, what I did with declaring the ambition I wanted twice, that's very hard to do. Because normally when you declare an ambition, it's a 0 and you lose the lead. And then you'd have to have cards that match the ambitions. I think it was one of the guild cards or something.
Yeah.
Like, I think one of them I declared the normal way, and then one of them I like used something to declare it again.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was the very interesting, talking about just like interesting situations that come in this game. We came to that last round where we knew, oh no, like in fact, it probably was the one that got stolen from me, that it was now one of the other 2 players that was going to win that giant ambition. Yep. And if either of them won it, they were going to win the game. And so suddenly it was this situation of like, oh, well, the round's ending no matter what, unless they tie. That was the only way, right? Because if they would tie, they would both get the lower amount, which is a lot lower. And then we would play another round. So suddenly, if I'm playing to win, my sole purpose is to somehow cause these 2 players to tie.
That's so good.
And so it turned out that I was able to I think I played one of those cards that got a card into my hand. And so I was going to play last. And so I was like, okay, I need to save until everything's over to make my move to try to balance them. And then basically the way the math worked out, they both had a bunch of the resources and cards and stuff. The one who was winning had a card that I can't remember if it was the fuel one or the materials one or something, but it's one of the ones that like you put the supply on it.
Yep.
And so like he's getting all those to count. So if I could steal that, I was actually stealing like 3 or something. And it just so happened that was what would cause them to tie. And so it basically, I all out set up this raid attempt, and I needed to get the keys to steal that thing. And it was successful. And I stole it. They tied, and neither of them got there. And we played another round. Now, did I win? No. my ship had probably sailed by not winning. But hey, I loved that I could play to win, and it felt so creative how I figured out a way to keep the game going. Now, granted, keeping the game going meant the game was probably 45 minutes longer than it was going to be. To get basically the same result. But so there's a caveat there. It has that similar thing I was talking about with Too Many Bones, where it can be very hard to know how long a game of Arcs is going to take.
Yeah.
And ours was very, very long.
It was a
I
long
think
game.
I think it was 3.5 hours.
Yeah, we dedicated a full day for like get there in the morning, play into the evening. We played 2 games.
Yeah, RX and 2. Yes.
So, yeah. Well, I will say, Ryan, I think something that's really at the heart of ARCs is that opportunity for creative moves.
Yeah.
Like that's because it's so hard. But man, when you're like, oh, what if if I play this and I can make this. I don't know. There's just a lot of areas for something where you just take a step back and like, wow, that was a really just clever way to pull that off.
Or like I thought there was no way to do this thing, but if I spend this, because all those resources have like an action that lets you do something out of suit. I mean, there's like a lot of flexibility in the system. Now, the flip side to that is you have to be aware that at some point someone may make some very creative move that really hurts you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and because oftentimes these creative moves, that's like the end result of it is like, it's very zero sum.
Yeah.
And so that's just something you got to know in this game is like, this game allows for creative moves and sometimes you're on the creative side of it and it feels amazing. And sometimes you're getting hit in a way that you never saw coming because you didn't think of it. And you just have to, let that not ruin your day. And so far, I mean, I feel like I went into ARCs with such like the right expectations of the type of game it is that like I think that's allowed me to enjoy it.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how much it's carried by just how interesting I feel the game is.
Yeah.
Like as I maybe some of the novelty wears off, do I just still enjoy playing in this vicious sandbox? The other
good description.
The other big piece here is what am I going to think of the campaign, the mini campaign with the Blighted Reach expansion? Because in some ways it takes some of that cutthroat nature off because now every character besides trying to score points has something that their character's trying to do. It's like their own personal
I would like that
way of doing things. And it's very interesting because at the end of a game, you score your points like towards the campaign, like your final campaign. But if you didn't make it all the way down, like you'll have a character that like starts your character marker at 10 and as you complete things for that character, it goes down. If you ended at like 4, that subtracts 4 from your point total. So like you can focus on getting points, but if you like didn't do a good job with your character, it's just going to like subtract a bunch of those points. But then if you completed your character track and succeeded, that's what allows you to continue as that fate and like continue on their story arc. But otherwise you get the choice of like other fates and you have to switch. But the fascinating thing is anything you still have in play from that first character, like you might have been the character that's going around and like has these little like orbs that you're doing maintenance on. He's like the little janitor guy. If you still had those on the map, and you switch fates, they still are there. You still have cards that you had that were maybe from that character. And so you're starting to get these like weird crossbreed factions and like the way this, and so it's very, very fast. And there's a lot of people that are like, I like ARCs and the expansion made it my favorite game of all time. There's others that like, didn't like the expansion as much. And so it's going to be very interesting because I already feel like if it was just ARCs as it is right now, and didn't have this expansion, I would still be thinking this is a game I'm probably going to keep in my collection because it's so unique. I'm fascinated
I was trying to think like what other game do you have that is that like to that level of tense? Honestly, what's funny, Ryan? It gives me the same feeling I actually have when like we're playing a game of Twilight Struggle.
Yeah.
Of this just
which is also very zero sum.
Tense, clever.
A scoring card's going to come and like which way is it going to swing?
So it's like that on a scale with more players. It's kind of how it feels.
That's a good point. But like if the campaign lands in the way that it could, that could really solidify it in my collection. So, and I do think I'm going to get to try the campaign this year because our sister and her boyfriend have both played ARCs multiple times, and I'm like, a 3-player campaign that could be very feasible to get that group together for 3 sessions.
3 sessions. That's very doable.
And honestly, the sessions I think are shorter than like the first one is you only play 3 chapters. And so you could even play these in the same
Do
day.
it all in
play them
one
back
day?
to back. You could. Well, that was something I talked about. You know, we
I
talked
don't know
about
if I
something
could
like a
handle that.
Twilight Imperium day or a, you know, a Keyforge tournament day. Like it could be fun
There
to maybe
would
have.
definitely be a table flipped if I played 3 games of Arcs in one day.
But I think it wouldn't quite feel like playing 3 games of Arcs like we did, because it would be a little bit different of it, and almost like
boy.
one big story arc.
It ended right when it needed to. I'll just say that.
Yeah. Yes. So before you run and go pick up Arcs in the comments below, make sure you're the type of person that might enjoy it.
Well, folks, I don't lie. These were all great games. Seriously, how could you not own at least one of these? And so if you're interested in owning one of them, we've got links down below that supports the channel. We really appreciate it. Helps us continue to do what we do, make these fun videos. But either way, we will see you in the next one.